There are some emerging nonprofit fundraising strategies that we should definitely be paying attention to. Now, there will always be some tried and true fundraising techniques that we can rely on, but in an increasingly tough fundraising landscape, it's critical to try new things and give your cause the best chance it has to raise money. So, in this episode of our Changemaker Cafe Fundraising 101 series, we'll talk through 3 emerging fundraising strategies and a few tips on trying them out. Now, as someone who has done a bit of fundraising myself and has helped advise others on fundraising strategy, I can tell you these approaches make a lot of sense, and I'll explain why as we get into each. You can grab our fundraising guide for resources and tips at changemakercafe.com. Thank you to Click and Pledge for sponsoring this series. Ready? Let's get curious. All right, let's jump right in here with emerging strategy number 1, which is engaging niche communities. It's kind of counterintuitive, right? When most people think about fundraising, they think we just need to reach more people. You're compelled to blast that email to thousands, post it on every social media platform, and maybe hope it goes viral. But the twist here is that some of the most successful fundraising campaigns out there don't go big, they go small, like laser focused small. And I don't necessarily mean small in fundraising goal or scope. I mean small in terms of their target audience. I'm talking about niche communities like gamers, quilters, fantasy football fans. These groups can be really tight-knit, and they form engaged communities around these interests and build trust and share values and love coming together for a good reason. So why can't that good reason be your cause? Why does this work? Well, people are built for social connection, and the trends are showing that we have a giant hole in society right now where community should be. Community building works to inspire new donors to join your cause by tapping into feelings like belonging. But why engage niche communities specifically? Well, for one, you've already got a built-in audience. They are already engaging around an interest together. So if you can identify which niche communities are likely to share your organization's values and be passionate about your cause, it's like reaching a whole pool of likely donors at once versus just one. But secondly, oftentimes these niche communities are left out of invitations to participate, so you can potentially tap into a new market, so to speak. Let's look at a real-life case study, the Gamers for Giving event. Every year, the Gamers for Giving event hosts a LAN party and streaming marathon, bringing together the gaming community to raise funds to provide gaming devices to hospitalized children. The event lasts a few days and people can join in person, but they also make it easy for gamers to join from home by providing instructions on how to set up their own fundraiser and download branded assets to show that they are part of the initiative. By building up this niche community, the event has raised over $1.7 million in 2025. If you want to try partnering with a niche community, you need to think about a few things. What niche communities might align with your cause? Are there local influencers who are part of that community who might inspire the rest of the community to join in? What types of activities would resonate with that group? And how can you showcase their impact so they can see how helpful their support was? But engaging niche communities isn't all you need to consider to optimize your fundraising this year and beyond. Another emerging fundraising approach that more nonprofits are tapping into is aligning your messaging with your donors' personality and values. But what does that actually mean? Well, think about it. People are wildly different in how they think, feel, and make decisions. Some donors want to see numbers, ROI, data. Others might be moved by stories or emotions or that one photo that hits you right in the gut. When you send everyone the same message, you're hoping it works for everyone, but that's like handing out the same birthday gift to your whole friend group and hoping nobody is disappointed. So I talked to Donor Voice, which is an agency specializing in using psychology to boost donations, and they had a pretty interesting case study to back this up. First, they tried tailoring campaign images and graphics to donors with a personality trait called openness. Compared to the generic message, the tailored messaging was significantly more effective, with a 1,460% return on investment. In other words, they raised a lot more money. In another case, they tried tweaking graphics and messaging to match different donors' values. And the result was that 7% more donors responded, and the average donation size increased by 78%. Now, granted, Donor Voice has some fancy formulas and tools they use to tailor messaging to donor audiences, but if I were trying to reverse engineer how to do this on a very basic level for new or smaller organizations, here's how I might do that. First, I would define some personality traits or values for segmenting. Maybe a personality segment is donors who are achievement driven, that'd probably be me. Or maybe another is for donors who are concerned with fairness and justice. Then I would try to figure out a way to segment my audience or donors. I could try to gather information from my board or volunteers about donors' personalities, or I could create a quick survey or help us get to know you email that tags people in my email marketing system when they click on different results. This won't be perfect, but it might get you enough data to start experimenting. Then I would create different types of messaging for each of the segments. For example, if one donor segment is people I think are achievement driven, then maybe I emphasize in that one how their donation helped solve a problem. Or if they're justice driven, maybe I showcase how a donation can right a wrong. Finally, I would test out the messaging to see what happens and start collecting feedback. Now, the third and final strategy I'm going to talk about in this video is a surprisingly simple but effective fundraising message technique that you can try out right away. But first, I want to thank our series sponsor, Click and Pledge. Reaching donors with the right messages is much easier when you have a great fundraising platform. Click and Pledge has a ton of features, but two that can especially help with tailoring donor communications are their AI-driven donation optimization and their donor outreach features, which allow you to understand donor behavior better, then send personalized messages just like we've been talking about. Click and Pledge is a safe, secure, and comprehensive fundraising platform for nonprofits that will really help nonprofits who are ready to grow their impacts. You get a comprehensive fundraising dashboard to keep track of your progress, and you can tap into other features like customizable donation forms, in-person fundraising, text to give, peer-to-peer fundraising that allows supporters to form teams and raise money from their networks for your cause, video fundraising with donation links embedded directly in the videos, donor outreach tools to improve retention, a complete Salesforce integration, and a lot more. Now, some platforms charge more based on your organization's size, but not Click and Pledge. The pricing stays the same even as your donor list increases. Nonprofits really appreciate how there are no contracts, and all of the solutions are included at no extra cost. You can learn more about Click and Pledge's fundraising solutions and get your first month free using the links below this video or this QR code here. You can get in contact with their team to ask questions or schedule a demo, or if you're ready, sign up to give it a try right now. Our third emerging fundraising strategy is all about tapping into emotions right away. Now, we've all seen the sad puppy or starving child of fundraising ads, and some of us have rightly cringed at the ones that use objectifying portrayals of poverty. But one question that arises when we think of these ads is, which is actually inspiring more donations, positivity or negativity? Well, turns out it's complicated. Some of the research says that we're wired for negative thinking. For example, one recent study published in the Journal of Philanthropy and Marketing found that fundraising appeals framed as losses, as in by not donating, you allow suffering to continue, were effective. But other research shows there's a big danger in making donors feel manipulated by doing that. Now, a campaign like that might spur short-term thinking or even some one-time donations, but the donors might not end up with positive emotions about your organization, and they're unlikely to be recurring long-term donors. So, what does work to inspire giving and form a relationship of trust with your supporters? Try problem solution messaging. Problem solution messaging is basically what it sounds like. It balances emphasizing the problems and the solutions for that problem. According to Charity Link, here's why it works. If all fundraisers do is tell donors how well things are going, it sends a clear message that donors aren't actually needed. But if fundraisers report that it's all terrible and awful, it lacks sustainability, or worse, triggers hopelessness. So here's how to frame your donor messaging with a problem solution lens. First, describe how your organization is battling a real and serious community or social problem. But explain that there are promising solutions to that problem and your organization is making progress executing on them. And to continue that progress, you need bold donors, like the person reading or hearing the message, to step up and help. Here's some problem solution messaging in action in the real world. Client Earth is a nonprofit with operations in multiple countries with a mission to use the power of law to create long-term change for the planet and environment. Every month, they share an update with their donors and the public with their latest case or progress. Because the issue of environmental sustainability is a huge one that is going to take a long time to ultimately solve, they frame their long-term work, which is creating those systems and policies that protect the planet, as a series of smaller battles. And each update shares the story of one of those battles on the ground using problem solution messaging. And by sharing regular updates that remind people that the problem is big, but solutions are in the works, they are showing traction to potential donors and reinforcing the decision to give for their current donors. Which of these new strategies do you think might work well for your efforts? I'd love to hear more. Share your thoughts in the comments. We're going deeper on this channel into how to tackle every aspect of making a difference possible. So be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more content on fundraising and nonprofits, but also deeper looks at more social good topics like how does impact investing work? What about social entrepreneurship, philanthropy, and more? I'll see you for the next episode of Changemaker Cafe.